Established in 1941, Mammoth Cave National Park is home to the world's longest known cave system, stretching nearly 405 miles and still developing. On the surface, the park is dense with diverse forests and plant life, but it is what lies underground that really attracts people. The first cave tours started over 200 years ago, making Mammoth Cave one of America's first ever tourist attractions. The cave is home to more than 130 types of animals, including 12 bat species. However, several of these bat species are being decimated by a disease called white nose syndrome. Professor Luke Dodd of Eastern Kentucky University explains how the disease affects bats during hibernation.
This disease is caused by a yeast-like fungus, and it grows on the exposed membrane of bats. It causes erratic behavioral patterns in these bats.
Beginning in 2006, the fungus has affected thousands of bats nationwide. The first sighting of white nose syndrome at Mammoth Cave was recorded in 2013 and has put local researchers on notice, as bats are an essential part of the ecosystem. Rick Toomey, a ranger at Mammoth Cave National Park, explains how bats play vital roles in insect control, agriculture, and in cave systems.
They are the most important. They deposit guano in the cave, and there is a whole ecosystem that depends on that guano bats are bringing in.
Without bats, the entire ecosystem could face an ecological ripple effect with far-reaching consequences.
We may have insect outbreaks that injure or reduce our forest health. We lose those bats, we may lose that whole cave ecosystem as well.
In an effort to understand and stop the spread of white nose syndrome, multiple kinds of research from different groups and individuals are taking place at Mammoth Cave.
I am studying bat diets. Using some genetic sequencing technologies, you can actually take fecal matter and you can extract insect DNA that has already passed through a bat's digestive system, and despite this degradation, we can actually have that sequence and we can identify that DNA to the species level.
My master's degree includes research on the northern long-eared bat, and it was just recently listed as threatened. My research especially focuses on the spring. They're coming right out of hibernation, right out of the caves. When we put these transmitters on, we're able to track them every day for the life of the transmitter.
I'm doing acoustic work down at Mammoth Cave National Park. I'm eavesdropping on bats to determine their activity on different landscapes and habitats.
At the cave's natural entrance, Mike Lackey, a professor from University of Kentucky and a lead investigator on a long-term bat project, leads his students through a hands-on research approach by deploying mist netting to capture bats.
Over the last 2 years, we've been evaluating the relative differences between what the bats do when they first emerge versus what the bats do during the maternity season.
You see the spotting right there on the wing? See how the discoloration? That's a white nose impact on the wing.
I like to tell students in my class, it's kind of like an automobile. You can lose a piece here, you can lose a piece there, and the car will still run, but you reach a point at some junction where you've lost too much and it no longer functions the way it should. I think ecosystems are the same way.
At Colossal Cave, 2 graduate students help biologist Steve Thomas capture bats with harp traps.
This project is one that began before white nose was discovered here on the park. Year after year, we've been looking at the bats to see what their condition was before white nose arrived and for the years afterwards. And we've noticed definitely a decline in the captures, the types of bats. We also are finding signs of white nose on the bats and some damage on their wings as well.
College students aren't the only students gaining research experience. Tina Cox's biology students from Central Hardin High School participated in a bat count.
We show students things in the classroom. This is your knowledge. This is how you can apply your knowledge. It really comes full circle when they can actually do that themselves and they can participate and it's hands-on.
Some kids don't realize what goes into the research projects like this and what different avenues that they can take as far as being in the parks, what it takes to be in there, like the equipment they would get to work with, and seeing things like that, I know for me, was very different, and it's something that I might actually be interested in the future.
Researchers use the data gathered by these students to create long-term data.
There's 2 flying.
It's important to have these long-term data sets. We can actually say with some degree of assuredness that we're seeing changes in the natural world, because sometimes it's hard to detect those changes.
Reporting for the PBS Student Reporting Labs, I'm Risa Tomioka.
you.